Chinese is so hard. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Grace. Today's topic is about Chinese character. Yes, I know a lot of people are struggling with this. I often get questions like, where should I start or how can I learn Chinese characters? So today I will break down the learning process to guide you into the world of Chinese characters, and I've prepared some free resources for you. But before I tell you these tips of learning, I will first give an introduction to Chinese characters so you can get a general understanding of them. But if you're not really interested in knowing the basic knowledge of the characters, then you can go to the description of this video to see the time code and then move on to the next part. Okay, let's get started. Before I start, I want to say that I'm a Taiwanese, so I use traditional Chinese in my daily life. But in this video, I will cover both traditional and simplified Chinese. And as you might know, these two types of Chinese characters are not like completely different systems. In fact, many characters are the same. Okay, let's get into the introduction. Your first impressions on Chinese characters might be, oh my god, they're just like drawings, or oh my god, do I have to learn so many different characters? Chinese is so hard. I will not say learning Chinese characters is easy, but there are actually some rules and patterns. If you get those rules and patterns in mind, the characters will be much easier to learn. To get the rules, let's start with an explanation of the features of Chinese characters. As you might know, some Chinese characters were developed by our ancestors drawing things from real life. So these characters are quite easy to remember due to this similarity, such as 火, fire, 田, farm. Additionally, some other characters were made according to the indications of their ideas, like 上, above or upper. You can see here that a horizontal stroke represents the meaning of above or upper. And another way to form characters is by combining the meanings of existing elements, like 看, to see or watch. It's a hand above the eyes to show the meaning of watching. So when you are learning these kinds of characters, it's quite helpful for you to memorize them by connecting with an object or idea in real life. However, the ways we just mentioned are quite hard to create enough characters as there are so many spoken words in daily life. So our ancestors used another way to create a lot of characters that we use now. That is by combining a radical, or you can say head component, with a phonetic component. Usually the radical indicates the meaning category of the character, and the phonetic components will provide a clue to its pronunciation. For example, ma. The radical of ma is 女, which indicates that the meaning category of ma is related to female things, and ma here is the phonetic component, which provides a clue to its pronunciation. Ma, ma. But as time went by, some phonetic components will not be able to provide sounds accurately. So as you learn, you cannot simply be sure about the sound by phonetic components. Sometimes you still have to memorize those pronunciations individually. But in a lot of cases, the sound will be pretty close to the phonetic component. Okay, after knowing these, let's move on to how to learn Chinese characters. Many people asked me where to start. I would say if you want to learn Chinese characters, you should start with knowing the basic strokes and the stroke order of writing Chinese characters, such as top to bottom, left to right, and outside to inside, etc. Knowing these can help you construct the concepts of how a Chinese character is built, and having a regular way of writing helps you decrease your learning burden. For the second step, I recommend that you get familiar with the most basic and commonly used components, because you know that many characters consist of a set of components, and some components will appear repeatedly. So I think it will be very helpful if you get to know those components first. Just like in English, we learn prefixes and suffixes to help us memorize the vocabulary. And in case that you don't know what are those components, I prepared a list including the 78 most frequently used components for you. I put it in the description, you can download it to practice. Then once you have those components in your mind, you will find it's easier to learn new characters. And I also recommend writing those characters down to practice during your first 1 or 2 years of learning characters. It will help you memorize them better and enable you to distinguish the similar looking characters. Just like when we were in elementary school, we native speakers also had to write these characters repeatedly to memorize them. We have a book that has this kind of content, which includes the store order and writing space. This one is actually generated by a website created by the Ministry of Education in Taiwan. You can type the characters you want to practice on this website, and it will generate this type of page for you. So if you want to learn traditional Chinese, this is a good resource. I will put a link in the description, you can go and find it. Okay, the last things I want to tell you is that when you embark on the journey of mastering Chinese characters, you definitely have to put some efforts into it. You need to use your imagination, or you need to write and review them repeatedly to let these characters stick into your mind. But the good news is, after you accumulate a certain amount of characters, you will find some patterns among them. And then you can learn new characters by connecting to the ones you have already learned. Okay, that's all for today. I hope the information in this video will help you find the best way to learn Chinese characters. And if you want to learn more Chinese, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I will see you soon. Bye!